Happy Homebrew Wednesday. Best news this week, it's the end of the lockout in the NHL. Any of you guys out there are NHL fans? Boom. Brilliant news. I love ice hockey. Go to watch the Nottingham Panthers. And the Chicago Blackhawks are kind of my first love in the NHL, so cheers to that. In fact, I'm going to toast that with one of my new beers. More about these later. Oh yeah, why not try a bit of Mary Jane? If you know what I mean. It's just a beer. It's just a beer. Don't take drugs. Okay, so I have to apologise for this bit. I've got a different lens on my camera this week, so I didn't realise that pretty much everything is out of shot except for my big face. It's very, very light in colour. It's going to be a slightly back to front episode of Homebrew Wednesday because I talk about these later on. But there you go. I'm filming quite a lot of this several days in advance. ABV 3.5%. Yes, the one that called itself the straw coloured, and that's exactly what it is. Look at that, it's kind of lager-esque, that is. Cidery, lagery kind of colour. Very pale. Oh wow. Hell yeah, that's got a really citrusy aroma. It's quite, I don't know, it feels, that tastes more, that smells more, it smells citrusy, yeah, but it smells quite tropical, fruity as well actually. Not got much head, but then it's probably the glass. I don't really clean my glasses properly. Cascade and Amarillo. Smells beautiful. Yeah, nice and light. Very easy to drink, quite fruity, very fruity. Not much maltiness to it. You know, very light. Not refrigerated at all. This is pretty warm actually. But still, for all that, very easy to drink even at this temperature. So it's a very easy drinking, nice light kind of summery ale. Really nice. Fruity. Very clean, smooth. It's almost like lager in the sense that it's kind of quite muted in the flavour. It's quite fruity, but there's not a lot of body to it. It's kind of got a lagery body to it, but slightly more hoppy. But very nice. Could probably do with being a little bit cooler actually. Quite a refreshing drink. So I approve of that. Mary Jane, crisp and pale with citrus aroma. So yeah, a good one for a summer's day, that is really. Slightly chilled in the warm summer heat. And by way of intro to this next section of the video, those of you who are regular viewers will know I've been bleating on about for the last few weeks about sorting out my garage and sorting out a new workbench and stuff like that, so I can start work on some of my homebrew DIY projects. And at last it's sorted. So a little while earlier in the man cave. Hi guys. So this is my cooler lid. It took 3 times as long as any other time I've opened this up, because it's for the camera, obviously. So, here you go, that's what I'm talking about. Cavities all over it. So these are what I'm going to fill up with polystyrene. Here's one I made earlier. So I've cut this earlier, slotted that in there, and then once I've created little rectangles for all of these cavities as far as possible, with perhaps varying sizes of polystyrene, slip the lid back on, Bob's your uncle. The cooler itself is in fact insulated throughout, as I'd hoped. I could tell that by the fact that this hole that somebody's helpfully kind of drilled has foam all the way around the inside, and I've just checked up sort of carefully inside the edge of this, which doesn't feel like it's meant to come off, but I've just checked carefully in there, and there's foam in there, so sort of polystyrene stuff. So I don't need to do that, which is cool. So I actually need very little polystyrene. Crazy cold. About an hour and a half later, it's not snowing indoors. Look at all this. I have actually used less than one sheet of polystyrene. This is that original sheet that I was showing you earlier. Quite a thick sheet. Et voila, that's all individually sculpted pieces of polystyrene, starting with just by cutting out kind of a rectangle for each one and then shaping it with this hacksaw blade, which is manually, which is the best way I've found to do it. I couldn't get the lid down properly for ages the first time. It was because it's got these kind of edges coming down to maintain the rigidity in terms of making sure it doesn't slide around. So it's got slots here that go over these kind of cell wall type bits to hold it firmly in place, and the kind of gully that I'd created for that ridge to come down to wasn't deep enough, but it's working now. I might need a bit of adjusting because, for example, here I've had to, using my thermometer to pick out little bits to make enough room for it so that it can stay in there nice and firmly. Now, I'm not sure whether this is going to make any difference whatsoever to the insulatory properties of it, because air cavities presumably would have been a little bit insulating anyway. But I think it'll help a bit. I haven't really had the opportunity to kind of test it in any other way because, you know, because there's a hole in this already. Because there's a hole in this already, I can't seal it up really, make it watertight. I wanted to do a quick test to see how long it would take, I don't know, 70-degree water to cool to 30 degrees or something as it is, and then put this in and test it again. But frankly, even when I get that sealed, I'm not going to go and open this up again and redo it because it's quite fiddly, and all these little bits can move a little bit. So that's it though. Pretty nice job, I think you'll agree. Absolute ball ache though, took me ages, but very satisfying once it's complete, so there you go. It might need a bit of adjusting, as I said, because it's still a little bit wanting to pop out. It's not kind of firmly clicking in and staying there as well as I hoped it would. see, I'm going around pushing it in, pushing it in, pushing it in, pushing it in, and pushing it in again, so it keeps popping out slightly. That's basically it. I'm going to go indoors and have a beer. It's freezing out here. This is my new kind of man cave. Now that I've got the bench sorted out and everything, got a new shelf up there for brewing supplies. But unfortunately the man cave is not as warm as indoors. So I'm going to be doing some brewing out here and stuff. But right now, particularly January, it's freezing cold. So I've been out here all day. My feet are freezing cold. They've been freezing cold all day. So I'm going to get in there, warm myself up with maybe a cup of tea and a beer. Cheers. Polystyrene I've collected for this purpose. Like I say, that's probably enough to do about 40 lids of the type that I've just done. So that's massive overkill, but then wasn't absolutely sure whether there was insulation in the walls, and I wasn't sure what size I need to use. Okay, cheers guys. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Homebrew Wednesday. Next week I'm going to have more of an update on the mash tun, how that's going. I'm purchasing bits and bobs for that right now. And I'm also going to do some shout outs for, well, long overdue shout outs really, for people who've watched, subscribed and commented to the channel. So cheers guys, see you later.